next level games is.
Hey, what's happening, gamers? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Super Mario Strikers. This is episode 4. Peach plows through Bowser Cup. That's the plan. The Bowser Cup is going to be the hardest cup in the game, obviously. Well, unless we manage to get Super Cups. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's time for more Super Mario Strikers. I just had some fish. It actually woke me up pretty good, so. Protein. But hopefully you guys having a good one. We only have 30 people here, which is surprising because we picked up like 700 subscribers in the past 2 weeks. Nice pull is this. I mean, what are you gonna do though? It's yeah, you have to wear it. You have to get another polo shirt another time. I'm not complaining. I don't think you can. You're supposed to have, it's a polo shirt is a requirement for that. It looks fine.
No, it doesn't!
Yes, it does. Also, you're going to be in the back cooking. No one's going to see you. So? It just looks fine. Well, I mean, that's how your hair has to be pinned back. You're gonna have, I mean, you can't really, you're gonna have like a fishnet on your head anyway, or whatever it's called. Steel's getting worse all the time.
So they said on the site, like, people that were about my size, that it fit them. So they lied. They lied through their teeth. They lied. They lied about what size this was.
Well, you should have told them some other things, which would have probably helped with the size difference. For a B, that would be fine. So. Not your fault. Alright, Peachy time. Peachy's got it. Playmaker Captain. Peach leads with masterful tactics and quick thinking. Alright, let's see how Peachy does. Yee-hee. I guess we'll bring in... You know what? I really like the Hammer Bros. We're going to stay with the Hammer Brothers.
Hello!
Okay, honey. Okay, so... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cups. Do I like the Fantastic Four new costumes? I'm indifferent on the Fantastic Four movie. I'm not going to see it anyway. So. Oh, going up against Daisy right away. Oh boy. Okay, honey. Hi, I'm Daisy. Alright guys, it's soccer time. Let's get those likes up we haven't already, as well as let's run those scores in the background, guys and gals.
Thank you! Oh yeah?
Link's in his tower.
Yeah? Yeah?
Alpha, we can't see Superman until we get paid. We don't have any money. We paid rent, which they still haven't taken out yet. Looks fine. Look better the other way, though. And those are your new jeans, or those are the... Oh. Okay. How cute. Yeah.
Yeah, like when we said we were down to the line, we're down to the line. That's why, like, we have money for rent now because of Patreon. And so because of people making more on Patreon go up overnight, which is unbelievable.
night, it went up over like an hour.
We didn't have enough for rent on Patreon, and we were praying about it, and it went up another over $1,000 more unexpected number, which we didn't even know that came from. It doesn't say it came from me, but it just says it came from me. There is no source from it. So, thank you, God, and thank you, and thank you,
Yep.
So, but we still, like, I still have to go DoorDash to try to get money for cat food and water and trying to pay, like, my storage locker.
Oh shoot, I forgot about
Like
that.
that. So we don't have any money to pay that. We only had enough to get rent paid.
Wait, did our storage locker get paid, or I completely forgot about
It
that?
will come out soon. So, like, when we said we were done for rent, we knew that we were done for rent. We didn't have anything. That's the reason why that person asked me during the Hogwarts stream to explain how bad a shape everything was, and I really didn't want to explain it, and I said that you were going to explain it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I kept asking me until the stream and stuff because I didn't want to be able to turn it for bed, but I didn't.
Come on, guys and gals, let's get those likes up so we can get more people in. We only have 30 people here for our Mario stream, which is crazy.
Well, I hope you guys are having a nice day today, and let's afraid to talk about anything that I'm doing next week.
No, not. Amber got her
I had to get a pair
uniform.
I had to get jeans as part of the uniform for my work that starts, and
Yep.
which is strange because I actually didn't have a pair of jeans at home. I only had dresses and leggings. I had no jeans at all. So, well, I had one pair of jeans. I had this basic pair, which I have to pay Luke back for DoorDash. And then I had the one pair of jeans. So I mainly wear dresses and leggings. I don't know, I just never wear things. The cats are fed. We have links in his towel. I did get myself
A thermos? Okay. Thermos, Amber. Is that dishwasher safe though, or? Okay. Okay. I don't need a thermos, I'll just use cups right now. I mean, that's about your size, so you getting children's stuff is... They don't make nice looking stuff for adults.
the brand of, like, they sell a lot of thermoses at the place in New York, and so you can tell that's not that brand.
Oh no! When did that happen?
I feel like everyone will know this is not good. Like, I should put a sticker on it that says Amazon or something, so nobody takes it. But I bet people don't want to take it on because it's really cute.
Go where? You get to sleep at 4 and that's 12 hours. But I thought we were gonna do at least one stream together. Yeah, those are your new shoes. Nice shot. No, they don't. Now remember, if you have any do not eat packets, you need to throw them out. Haha, those look so tiny. Children's shoes. Yeah, they kind of are. Yeah, I know, you're small. Well, nice. I still have fish. We need to, because I have to tackle a ton of dishes. There's no room for you to cook anything. I'm gonna finish the fish today, I think. I can't see anything. You have like a spring in your head. Okay. Okay. They're probably going to give you a hairnet. I don't know. They're probably, it's a food industry thing, so they're going to give you a hairnet. I worked in a restaurant. They gave me a hairnet if I was in the kitchen near food. So. I would advise, like, putting it in a room where there's no cat hair. So I put it in our bedroom or put it on the office chair or something like that. Because, like, down here you're gonna... The only problem with black shirts is that thing's gonna get covered in cat hair. So when you come home from work, you need to change out of that black shirt or you're gonna look like a furry. Fur person, yeah. Alright, so that's the first one against Peach. Okay, so the tally is we had 28 shots on goal, 6 out of 3. 31 total hits. I didn't hit that many people because Peach is nice. Daisy only hit people 3 times. Super strikes were 2. Perfect passes were 3. 1 perfect pass for Daisy.
There's my ponytail holders.
But yeah, that's the only downside to a black shirt uniform is we have cat hair all over the place. So, like, I would not come home from work and then, like, sit on the couch because you'll get covered in cat hair. I am more of a Batman fan than Superman. Amber's a Superman person, but she likes Batman.
I like Dean Cain and Henry Cavill.
She likes, her favorite Supermen are Dean Cain and Henry Cavill. So we'll probably see the Superman movie around the 16th or 17th of July, right around the time the Fantastic Four comes out, because that's when we get paid next. Yeah, we are gonna see it, but it'll be like a week or two after most people have seen it. So try to keep spoilers to a minimum, like if like at all, like no spoilers, because we don't have the ability because of like the company that took money from us and like YouTube's forcing them to pay. They still haven't paid yet, so we're like Amber said, we only had enough to pay our rent, electricity, our storage locker, the internet. And Amber used most of the other stuff to get stuff for her new, like, job thing. But she'll pay me back later. But guys, we gotta get more people in here. We only have 45 people. So that's, like, really making the stream, like, get strangled. If we only have 45 people here, we have to have you guys watch the shorts, because the channel's not doing well. It's okay. How do I increase my rank? Rank 5 versus rank 1, that's not good. Yep, so basically Ambi's like home uniform you'll have to wear when you get home from work. Otherwise you're going to become like cat hair lady. Because I don't have a ruler. Because I didn't have to worry about being presentable outside. That's okay.
Oh yeah? Oh.
That's the only downside to black uniforms is like if you have cats, it's like sniper shot. Ah! Whoa. The pink team looks actually pretty cool. No shots, or no goals yet. Lots of shots on goal. No goals. Bye-bye. Oh no! Breakaway!
Yeah, we can all become friends on Malvina, of course.
Sniper shot.
Do you like the costumes in Fantastic Four? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it all depends what the message of the movie is. I mean, like, obviously they're trying to pull in people's nostalgia, but they have been very, like,
The movie has some weird messages.
they are being very, like, not upfront about what the point of the movie is. And it's a little bit sus. Like, it feels like they are purposely trying to play on people's nostalgia and love for things that are old-fashioned so that they can mix some of their own messaging into it. So, I mean, I don't really have anything to say. If they were upfront and it was a good, wholesome film, then I would be okay with it. But it feels like what they're doing is they're trying to make another Hollywood wolf in sheep's clothing film where they pretend the film is about one thing, but in reality, when you actually watch the film, it's about something else.
I mean, they already said what the movie's about. They weren't shy about it. They're like, it's a gender study movie, and it's like, oh, it's supposed to be about the Fantastic Four. So, I mean, you know, it's just... the Fantastic Four movie that came out when we were, like, you know, first married and stuff like that was really good. The second one that came out, Rise of the Silver Surfer, was not good. But the very first Fantastic Four movie with the guy who later played Captain America was really good. The only thing that people didn't like about it is there was a little bit too much fan service, because I mean it was expected. It was a film that mostly men went to, so you would cater to your audience. But even looking back on that movie, it wasn't like a really like inappropriate film or anything like that. It just had a little bit of fan service.
It was like watching an anime or something with
Pretty much.
Put some fan service moments into it.
Pretty much. It wasn't that bad. Like today, people talk about that film like it was like degrading the women and stuff, and it's like no.
It's like there are like funny things that are like, oh no, I lost my, like, oh wow, I had to, you know, I couldn't like describe what I'm doing, but it's kind of like in an anime where it's like, oh no, I'm swimming in the water, where did my swimsuit go? Now I have to find it. Can someone help me? And then they figure it out. But it's just like funny for a second. But there's not anything overtly happening. Like, your hair was blushed for one moment, but it's over. So I feel like that's kind of the messaging that was in Fantastic Four.
You're gonna lose. Shoot. I missed. Get the monkey. not doing well at all.
What? It's like, I was just thinking, like, they put some really great messaging into, like, things that, like, Dwayne McDuffie wrote for Justice League and Teen Titans. But he didn't make it like it was all about that message. It was mainly about them fighting bad guys. But then, once in a while, he would put a message in. But the message was actually good, not...
The difference between nowadays and like in the past is there was a subtlety to the way that things were addressed and talked about, where today there is no subtlety, there's a jackhammer approach. And what it is society is kind of getting tired of Hollywood's interpretation of things, and so they're kind of shying away from it because it's like, it's too in your face, whereas before it was kind of like, here's just like a little bit of whatever, you know, there you go, now back to the story. Whereas once they start doing it in the movies, it's kind of like from the approach of you're going down a mountain on a 10 speed and it's continually like adding, you know, it's getting faster and faster and more in your face and stuff like that.
I feel like in older things, like the messaging was more like showing how people feel. Like you were showing like, oh, this is how I feel when, you know, people treat me different on the team because I'm a woman or because I'm a cyborg or whatever. And it's like, oh, and you can feel for them. But today's messaging is like, this is wrong, you shouldn't treat people different because you're a cyborg and you are a horrible human being. You know, if you even think about that, and like you're evil and the smut of the earth, and now we're gonna have everyone who thinks they're dead die in a crate.
No.
And it's like, okay, well, you could have just said it for one second. You didn't have to keep going into it over and over.
What cyborg? What do you mean?
Well, actually, the messaging for Teen Titans wasn't, when he said that they treat him differently as a cyborg, he wasn't really talking about being a cyborg. He was talking that he was...
No, I mean, it was a both thing, because back then, that kind of stuff there wasn't that kind of problem, you know. So he was, you know...
But he was alluding to that a little bit.
A little bit. They were alluding to it a little bit, but that kind of stuff didn't exist because, I mean, there was so many shows and so many things, like, for that culture, like, all the time. There was, like, The Cosby Show, there was so many, like, Family Matters, you had Fresh Prince, it was just all over the place. Nobody cared.
I did feel like that particular episode with Cyborg was very touching, though. I don't even remember everything that happened, but I remember it was very well.
It wasn't a Cyborg Center episode, it was about Starfire. Starfire was called a very bad word.
Yeah, and then Cyborg said, I know how you feel because people treat me differently too.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like they related to each other. They both had things.
She was called like one of the worst words that was from her kingdom or something like that, or from her galaxy. So yeah, it was. Yep.
So it was really
a thing
centered
about
on Starfire being mistreated.
Yeah, it was an episode about discrimination.
And it was really like Cyborg that helped her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that episode, Peach had 2 goals to Donkey Kong's 1. Only 26 shots on goal, 47 hits in that one, 0 total steals, 13 super strikes. Wow, 13 super strikes and only 2 goals. That's terrible. No perfect passes. We did not do well that time. Did not do well at all.
And 08 says, let's see. What's their excuse for not oh, wait, no. 08 is saying, you don't need to rely on the super shots. You need to outwit your opponents. Okay, thank you, 08.
Super shots eventually go in and you get 2 points if you get it in.
I guess Luke really likes the super shot.
Also, Peach isn't very good at the super shots. Some of the other characters are, because they have more of a, you know, an area of getting the super shot in. Okay.
Well,
Mario.
Never mind.
Here we go. Yeah, but I mean, what killed my interest in the Fantastic Four is all the stuff they were talking about, like on the press tour, and it's just like, yeah, no, that's not a movie I want to see.
I feel like if you like a superhero movie should always be kind of like if like every kind of movie, like people know what to expect, and that's the kind of movie they want to watch. Like if you're watching a rom-com, you're basically going into it thinking you're gonna watch two people.
Oh yeah?
They're gonna like have some shenanigans. There's gonna be some funny parts, and they're gonna end up falling in love in the end. Like if you actually stray from that formula and you make the person like, oh, it starts out as a rom-com, but then halfway through the movie, it's really about, you know, like the girl showing how bad he took her on dates and how terrible the food was, and that was the whole point of the movie. Then the whole point of the movie is stupid because you were going into it thinking it was a rom-com, and you decide to have this skewed thing going on in the middle of the movie that has nothing to do with the point. So it's like, I feel like that about superhero movies is like, the whole point of the superhero movie is there's a ragtag team of people. They have to save the world. You know, they have
Not
to,
always a team, though.
yeah, it's not always a team, but they have to learn to save the world or one person. And they have to, you know, fight through their insecurities and learn to use their strengths and, you know, get their courage up and fight the enemy and save everyone. That's the whole point of the superhero movie. So when you actually add something else stupid into it, like, oh, well, we are doing that, but that's the backdrop. The real thing is whether Sue Storm's appreciated as much as the rest of the team because she's a girl. It's like, but that's not supposed to be the point of the movie. Like, the point of the movie is to defeat the bad guy. Like, you're ruining the movie by making it about something else. That's how I feel.
So they were actually talking about this, or not Fantastic Four in general, but there was a fascinating article that just came out, and people are like, we don't understand why brands like Star Wars and Indiana Jones haven't succeeded anymore by coming back, and it's like, because you changed the brand identity of the franchise. Indiana Jones and Star Wars were boy brands. If you would have kept to the same formula that George Lucas did in the 70s and 80s, whatever you milked with Indiana Jones or Star Wars would have been profitable because, you know, that's what the audience expected. You changed what the audience wanted and the audience rejected it. It's not, this is what I don't understand. It's like these people say they've been to business school and all this other stuff, but they completely change how like a successful brand is supposed to be. Like they're literally given the keys to a very successful brand and then they ruin it and then they're like, huh, what went wrong? Because right now they're talking about, well, Disney's going to get Power Rangers again, and it's like, that's great, but you have to keep to that same mindset that made Power Rangers successful in the first place. Because if you go and you tweak it and you try to modernize it, I promise you, you're going to fail again. Because what makes Power Rangers and Indiana Jones and Star Wars successful brands is the simplicity of it. When you add all these like new things and modern touches to it, you completely water down what it's supposed to be. And at the core of both of those franchises, Indiana Jones and Star Wars, it's a battle against good versus evil. That is the core mechanic of those franchises, as well as, you know, it's supposed to be a male power fantasy, especially Indiana Jones. So the reason why the movie with Harrison Ford didn't do well is because they made him an unlikable old man. They made him a complainy old man all the time. He was bitter, he was annoying. And the only parts of the movie people actually liked is the very beginning where they had Harrison Ford as a younger man, and it felt like 20 minutes of a classic Indiana Jones movie, and then it completely jumped the rails. It went like to, hey, this is an exciting, like kind of like almost Temple of Doom style movie. It's not Last Crusade or Raiders, but it's decent. And then it completely loses its identity by becoming like Indiana Jones becomes a sidekick to a female character. Like, you can't do that.
It is a boy franchise. Like, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and like, that's like, I feel like when, you know, like they've always had a few females in like boy-oriented franchises like Star Wars and stuff. But, like, you know, the actresses went in there knowing that this is a male, like, thing. Like, they are... And they are very important. Like, Marion is one of the leads. Like, she's not a sidekick. But she knows that this movie is primarily watched by men. Like, she's aware of that. Like, people are aware of that going in. You could still have a female... You can even have a female... Like, personally, I feel like someone like... I mean, I don't know if I'm right about this, but I feel like if there was a movie about Tomb Raider, which I guess there was...
There's been several.
But I'm saying, like, with that, I would say that's a primarily probably male-watched movie, even though it's a female lead. That's just my impression of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's an adventure film, and guys like adventure films, so it doesn't have to have a male lead, but it has to have that formula that guys like to watch. You know, like the formula of the story. It's not so much like, oh, it happens to be a male or female lead. It's more like, what is the story about? What is the point?
The thing is, with Indiana Jones, what made it so successful, the video game that came out, is they kept to the core of Indy's character. Indiana Jones was abrasive, Indiana Jones was rude, Indiana Jones, you know, acted a little like coy with women. He was mean and sarcastic to his enemies. He was Indiana Jones. And all the characters that revolved around him worked for the setting of that game. And it felt better than the Indiana Jones people saw in the movies. And people really enjoyed the game because you really felt like Indy. It was from a first-person perspective, and that was a little different. But the storytelling, the way that the character acted and all this other stuff, it was spot on Indiana Jones. And that's why it was successful, is because Indy fans loved it. And if Disney would have done that to begin with the last movie that Harrison Ford was in, they would have had a hit film. It wouldn't have bombed.
It's like they have to take him from being an anti-hero to make him like a Boy Scout or something.
No, he didn't become a Boy Scout. He became like a male apologetist. Like, he was always like, you know, just basically like, I wouldn't say bowing down, but he was kowtowing to the female character. For being him, you know, I'm gruff and old because you know, he didn't need to explain a lot of stuff because
you need to say you're gruff and old?
when you had an old man character in the Indiana Jones franchise, which was his father, Henry Jones Sr. Henry Jones Sr. never made his, you know, brief appearance in The Last Crusade about his age. He never brought it up. He never complained. He never was drinking. He was never, you know, he was just like, he was a cool character that happened to be of Golden Age, you know. He was a guy in his 60s or 70s.
He was still focused on what he always wanted to do.
Yeah, he was an archaeologist, exactly. So with the problem that I couldn't stand about the last Indiana Jones movie is the entire movie, it was like watching what they did with Luke Skywalker. They brought Luke Skywalker back and they completely rinsed him down as a character. They made him unlikable. And you just didn't really care to, you know, to watch that Star Wars movie. Same thing with the Indiana Jones movie. Like, the first 20 minutes was great. Felt like classic Indy, and then we see this dude, and I understand his circumstances. He lost his son, his marriage was on the rocks. But it's like they were playing into too much about Indy being a failure.
I feel as though they purposely wrote him as a failure almost to prove that men always end up as a failure who are alpha males.
Well, the movie was written by a woman, so...
And I feel that is wrong because men who are alpha males do not end up as failures. Like, that is a great thing for men to aspire to be.
Mm-hmm.
To be macho and take charge and go on adventures and protect women. There's nothing wrong with being macho and being male. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being masculine. So, like, I think it's subliminal messaging saying it's wrong to be masculine. I just saw something on Twitter recently.
1 sec.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so we have Peach got 3 goals, 27 shots on goal for Peachy, 47 total hits against Donkey Kong's, it looks like 4, or Mario's 4. 13 total. 1 steal on my side, 3 super strikes. So I didn't do a lot of super strikes, and we had some perfect passes. Okay.
Yeah, but I'll just wait till your thing starts or whatever.
It's fine.
Well, I was just gonna say, I just was thinking, I mean, it's just sort of unrelated, but yesterday I was on Twitter and I saw some random person say, like, I guess they have a lot of followers. They were a guy, and they were like, they said, like, I just want to, you know, say, like, I hope all you gentle ladies out there get a gentle man who understands all of your feelings, because that's what you deserve. And it's like, I'm just thinking, like, this is not what I want at all. Like, I don't want a gentle man. Like, I don't want a guy that's gentle. Like, I want a guy who is, you know, exciting and goes on adventures and is rough around the edges and is take charge and does what he feels is right. And doesn't care that much about what people think about him, even if he does something wrong once in a while. It doesn't bother him like it bothers me as a female. I think things over a lot and worry if I've offended someone. Most guys I know don't worry about that. That's why Indiana Jones is so cool. He just doesn't care if he offends somebody. That's what makes him really masculine and a great character. So I just think that person is crazy on Twitter. Like, women do not want a gentle man at all. They do not want that. They want the opposite of themselves. Women are gentle because they want a rough around the edges masculine man who is the opposite of gentle. They want a non-gentle man because they want somebody that they really, and I don't know how other women feel, but I feel I want a rough around the edges masculine man because that's something I cannot be. You know, I could try that all day, and I would never be able to do that. But guys can. They have that superpower. They can take charge. They can just take all the insults and not care if a bunch of, brown shirts are mad at them, and they can run out of the base and grab the idol and, say, come on, let's go, and get on the horse and go for it. I can't really do that because I'd be worrying if the horse is hurt or something. Like, when I was younger, I played soccer, and I had the ball. I was about to score a goal, and this girl went flying. That she tried to get the ball from me. She went flying, and her back hit the ground and thud, and I actually stopped and lost the goal because I was worried that she was hurt. And everyone was screaming at me, like, what are you doing? And why do you care, about this person? Because that was my nature of caring about people, but in a, life or death situation, you can't just randomly stop.
Yeah, but the reason, to me, it was fascinating, they're talking about all these franchises, but they can't understand why something that worked so well back in the day had problems in the modern era. It's because you tried to change the core of the characters to reflect, not alpha males, but beta males. And you can't take a character who's designed to be an alpha character, a leader and, kind of a rude individual or whatever, a womanizer, and then change him to be this soft character when that's not his identity. What you could have done is you could have brought in a strong feminist character to the Indiana Jones franchise, but kept Indy the same that he always was, and have those two clash with their ideals, and make a movie about that.
Definitely.
To show, for the more modern spin, you have the female character act the way you want, but you can't turn Indiana Jones into a character that sympathizes with their way of doing things, which is why the Indiana Jones video game that just came out worked, because we had a strong feminist character with the photographer lady who was looking for her sister, She kind of had, that 1940s doll approach, but also there was some elements of, a modern woman in there.
Yeah, because she was doing stuff all on her own, when usually women wouldn't be out there, exploring all on their own.
Well, she basically had the Marion role, but the thing is, she was playing off Indy, who was still acting like a 40s guy, a dude during World War II.
Right.
But she was acting a little bit like more modern sensibilities, and it worked. But you can't take both characters and change them to a 2020s mindset. It doesn't work, especially for a period piece.
Yeah, I feel like you could have had the way of the Avengers butt heads because they have different personalities. I feel like you could have done that with Indiana Jones, where you had a feminist woman and had her butt heads with Indiana Jones. But maybe they came to some kind of understanding towards the end.
The character was so insufferable in the Indiana Jones movie that came out in theaters, and Indy never once put her in her place, which is so out of character for Indy, because every female character that's been in every Indiana Jones movie, he stands up to, or he yells at, or he,
If I was Indiana Jones and that girl was talking to me like that, whether she was a girl or if it was a girl or a guy talking to me like that, I would. If I was, I had the artifact and I got on the, I was ready to get on the train or the horse, I would just leave her behind.
Well, the thing is too, if you go back, I know a lot of people don't like Crystal Skull, but Crystal Skull has now aged so much better than the Indiana Jones movie that came out and aged like milk. I think it was called not the Great Circle, the Dial of Destiny or whatever. That movie, Indy, in every other movie, when he comes across a young person, he's very sarcastic. He basically says things like, respect your elders, or I'll show you how it's done, kid, things like that.
Right.
With the girl character, the girl sidekick, she felt like she was the lead of the movie. And even though the audience knows she's insufferable, Like, Indy not once puts her in her place. Like, not once. And he could have done it very subtly, too. Like, you know, respect your elders or something. Like, he could have played to his strength as being an old man, like, you know, Henry Jones Sr. would have done in The Last Crusade or something. But nope.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything. You know what? It's kind of interesting is that Nathan Drake, I believe, does leave Elena behind, but then he feels bad.
Of course he does, because it's his wife. But the reason why he leaves his wife behind in the Nathan Drake things is because he's trying to keep his wife safe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, he doesn't want to put his wife in harm's way because Nathan does a lot of crazy stuff.
Nathan is like, he is like Indiana Jones, but he's Indiana Jones who gets married and falls in love.
And he gets married and falls in love.
Oh yeah, you're right, he does. I forgot. Of course, with Marion.
Yep, and then they divorced him and he got back together with her at the end. They got divorced over Mutt's death. Which the only reason they killed off Indiana Jones' son is because the female writer, well, a lot of people didn't like Mutt, and also, like, they didn't like the idea of, like, Indiana Jones' son taking over for the franchise. So they were like, we're going to kill him off, and we're going to have a new female character take over for Indiana Jones. And it's like...
But it's a boy, like you said, it's a boy franchise. It's for, like, a lot of fathers and sons watch that together. Just like Star Wars is a boy franchise. A lot of fathers and sons watch that.
Well, I mean, Star Wars is kind of for everyone, but, like, when you go and you change core characters that acted a certain way, you know, without any explanation, like, I liked... Well, no, Mark Hamill's version of his turning bad was kind of a whole gun control, like, thing, because, you know, Mark is crazy. But, if they would have gone with... you know, his wife and son died or something like that, and he quit being a Jedi because he was so distraught over it and the attachments that his father went crazy because his wife and he thought his kids died. So that's why he turned to the dark side, you know, because he couldn't save his wife. That was the whole catalyst. So it would have been a nice throwback to have Luke in a similar parallel where he did end up having a family and they died, and that's why he became a hermit. That makes sense in the core to his character, but having him, you know, have a bad dream and then try to kill his nephew is totally out of character from Luke Skywalker, and it just doesn't paint that, you know, very drastic illustration of how he could just turn like that. And it just proved that the guy who was writing the movie didn't even understand Star Wars, which he said he didn't. He never saw the Star Wars movies, Ruin Johnson.
Well,
and that's why
ridiculous.
That's why he ruined Luke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you're right. That was for the whole family, because a lot of family watches that with their whole family. Star Wars, especially the older ones.
But both Indiana Jones and Star Wars were based after, like, the film serials of the 1930s and 40s, which were very heroic in nature and stuff like that. And if you're going to continue to use that successful type of, like, brand power, you have to keep true to the core mechanics of those franchises, or else... what happened with Star Wars and what happened with Indiana Jones will happen again.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an adventure film. Like,
you can't change the brand identity to reinvent, like, certain modern sensibilities and throw it into something like, for Indiana Jones, that takes place in the 40s, 50s, and the 30s and stuff like that. You have to stay true to the nature of what that era was, because then, one, it's not authentic anymore, and it's not based on those movie serials that George Lucas and, what's his name? George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, Steven Spielberg. Yeah.
Those were the type of things they enjoyed.
Regardless of people think the movie is for boys or girls or whatever, or it's actually, like you said, it's always an adventure film, like the Indiana Jones and the Star Wars. They're both adventure films.
Okay, so Peach got only one goal the entire time. I had 26 shots on goal. They had 8. 44 takedowns. They had 3. No steals on my team. 4 super strikes. No perfect passes. 2 perfect passes for them. So we are playing on hard mode right now.
Oh, wow, Luke.
But the fact that I only got 1 goal that entire time is crazy. It is crazy.
That is really crazy, Luke.
But the thing is, like, myself... if I was in charge of Indiana Jones or something like that, I would make bangers. Because I know what the character is like. I understand that, okay, if I'm making like a modern Indiana Jones, like about his son or grandson in the 2000s, yeah, totally, I'm gonna you know, have the characters act and behave as they did in the 2000s. But if I'm making something that's dated, that takes place in the 40s or the 30s or the 50s or 60s, I'm going to incorporate what it was like for men to behave during that time period. And since Indy is kind of a rebel and a jerk, I'm going to have him stay that way. Now, with his grandson or whatever, you can still make him kind of a womanizer a little bit, but you can also make him more sensitive to certain things that are going around him and not have him act like a man out of time, like have him act like his grandfather from the 40s and, you know, 30s or whatever. You know, you could do something like that. I mean, I am my grandfather's grandson, and I carry some of his humor and some of his, like, ideals and ways of thinking, but I'm a man of the, you know, the 2000s or whatever. So I'm kind of a mixture of both cultures in a way, you know, how I act, and which the internet seems to have a problem with because they said my tone of voice is a problem and I'm perceived rude and things like that.
But I like your tone of voice.
But my mannerisms and my way of speaking is very similar to a man from the 1930s and 40s because that's the environment that I grew up with. My grandfather had, like, you know how Grandpa used to talk. It was kind of slow but authoritative with, you know, he always sounded like he was in control.
Yeah, he sounded cool.
Yeah, he had a cool voice, exactly. Super Strikes in Cup matches, 100, goal awarded. You've unlocked the explosive custom power-ups. No idea how to do that. Okay, moving on to the next one.
Well, I mean, like, anyone who speaks with authority, though, is going to be speaking a little bit intimidating. Like, your grandfather had to be chief of police, so he's not going to have a wimpy voice and a way of speaking because he has to command authority to tell bad guys where they can get off and explain to people that they need to follow the law. Like, I actually had to deliver to a prison today.
Oh my god.
I know, and I actually went around the block a few times, and I once, because I was like, wait, is this correct? Because it said, do not enter, no trespassing, and it said, nope, this is where I'm supposed to go. So I entered it, I went into the guest place, handed it to the officer that it had their name, and they said thank you, and I got out of there real quick. But, you know, the person was kind of intimidating when I handed it to them, but it makes sense. I mean, they're like a prison officer, like, it's their job, they're supposed to be intimidating.
But, I'm getting back to this thing. So, Power Rangers, like, there's this whole article about it. They're like, you know, we gotta be careful that we don't follow in the same things, but at the same time, they're like, they're missing the point because they're even saying in the article what Disney needs to do is they need to update Power Rangers for modern times. And it's like, Power Rangers is a show that was created in the 90s. And it was a show about teamwork, and it was a show about, like, maybe 15 minutes about what the teens are doing in high school and stuff like that. It didn't focus on the teens' lives overall. Like, you didn't really know a lot about their family life. You didn't know a lot about their stuff. It's like they'd rise up and they were in a fun group of friends, you know.
Yeah,
and then they would
talking about them at school.
Then they would fight monsters and call it a day. You know, the reason why Power Rangers got canceled is when they added so many modern nuances to stuff, and it was less time for them to be in costume and more time for them to, you know, have their personal lives and things like that, and audiences didn't resonate with that. The reason why Power Rangers survived for like 28 years prior to the Cosmic Fury and the, what was the other one? Dino Fury seasons, is like they kept to a tried and true formula and just kept using it over and over again. Was it repetitive? Yeah. But it was a business model that worked. When they went in and they twisted it and they tried to, you know, show more, we'll say, 2020s talking points and things like that, they started to lose more and more of their audience because that's not what parents wanted to see for their kids. They just wanted them to tune in, see these colorful characters beat up the monster of the week, and, you know, get on with it. And they just overly focused it on the characters themselves out of the costume. And that really started to irritate people, you know? They were just kind of like, that's not what Power Rangers is about. It's not Saved by the Bell. It's Saved by the Bell a little bit, and then they transform into superheroes, you know? Because Saved by the Bell was always about moral lessons and things like that, and about, like, the teenagers and getting to know them and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was also, at the core of its show, it was a comedy. It was like a teen comedy or whatever.
Yeah.
But Power Rangers kept changing what it was doing and what audience it was looking for. The last couple seasons targeted the 1% of audiences, the modern audience, and it completely ignored the core aspect of Power Rangers fans, and it got canceled. It's that simple. Like, you don't have to be a marketing genius or even have like a business degree to understand what went wrong with Power Rangers. But the fact that these people still want to keep like screwing things up, it shows that they haven't learned their lesson. It's like watching a kid repeatedly touch a stove and wonder why they got burned. Like, you would think, oh, okay, I kind of learned my lesson. Don't do this. Don't incorporate this. Focus on this, and I can have a good show. And it's like, my hand keeps getting burned on the stove. What am I doing wrong? I just keep touching the stove over and over again. I don't understand what's happening.
Then they have to go to college for stove studies.
Stove, yeah.
And then they have to,
Maybe
like,
if I touch the stove a certain way, I won't get burned. Nope, my hand is still charred. It's not hard. This is why this generation of people completely lack common sense. They don't. Common sense is such a drastic thing to them that they can't understand it. It's like putting an ADD person in a room and telling them not to get distracted with all the shiny nickels all over the floor, like in different parts of the room. They need to go in the room, they need to ignore all the different shiny nickels and not pay attention to that. They need to pay attention to what the teacher's saying and just ignore like all the shiny stuff. It's impossible to do. Like, you have to focus on what makes your brand, which is why Nintendo's been so successful. Think about all these game companies over the past like about 10 years, that they moved the focus away from what made gaming great. Fun stories, nice looking character designs, good gameplay, occasional DLC, whatever. Whereas Nintendo, everybody makes fun of it, but Nintendo is the same company that it was in the 1980s. That's the reason why they're successful, is because they sell nostalgia. When you get a Nintendo game, whether it's Zelda or Mario, you know what you're getting. You do. You don't have to worry about, like, a character like Tomb Raider or something being reinvented for the 2000s. Or not 2000s, excuse me, 2020s. 2000s was fine. It was the 2020s that was, like, a really weird period in our history. You know what they did to Tomb Raider, right? They completely changed her from, like, this really hardcore female Indiana Jones that stole and did all this other stuff, and she was super wealthy, and she wisecracked, and she carried guns, and she was a martial artist and all this other stuff, and she was really cool. She was a little sexy, but whatever, you know. They turned her into almost like a soccer mom, and instead of her stealing relics, they changed her to an archaeologist, which she never was. She was, the whole thing with Tomb Raider is she was supposed to be a contemporary version of Indiana Jones, the female variety, but instead of her being a noble person like this belongs in the museum, she's like, how can I sell this to the black market?
Right.
That's who her character was.
It was supposed to be kind of cute and fun. Like,
right.
Fun.
It wasn't, people weren't supposed to, like,
Cheeky.
yeah, it was cheeky stuff, exactly. It wasn't, you weren't supposed to take it seriously. Like,
It was making her character fun.
Yeah. She was like a Catwoman-like character.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
I could tell you this now because their games are canceled, but there was a Tomb Raider game where she was going to be a person that recovered relics from people, and she wasn't raiding tombs because that's not PC. So they completely changed her character, and then they wondered why their game got canceled. They're like, I don't understand what happened. Like, we took this really female-empowered character, we completely removed all her sex appeal, and we completely changed her character, and now our game's canceled. I don't understand. Like, we found a different way of touching the stove, and we're not getting burned as much, but we still lost.
It feels like every modern game and movie that comes out today is like, the box looks really nice. It's like you're having a pizza party for people. It's like, we're going to get a pizza party, and they advertise this pizza party for months. And then when you actually show up to the classroom for your pizza party, the box looks like there's cheese oozing on the picture, and it looks delicious. Then when they open the box, there's kale all over the pizza, and the cheese is vegan cheese, and it's fat-free, and the crust is made out of cauliflower, and it looks good on the outside. They're like, what's the matter? Why won't you watch this movie? It's like, it looked good from your commercials, but when I actually bit into the pizza or the movie, I did not like it. It did not taste good. I just didn't like it.
It was Little Caesars.
I didn't enjoy it. Even Little Caesars would be better, because at least there's grease and cheese on that. I'm talking like, remember Okay, I can talk about it now because I don't think this person will ever watch, but this very nice lady ended up helping us with a lot of things in California and was, you know, wanting to advertise our channel. So she was very sweet. She showed up with these homemade brownies, and she was just the most wonderful person. But when she left the brownies, she's like, just so you know, I made them really healthy. So, and we were thinking, oh wow, natural ingredients, this is gonna be great. And then she left, and it was like there was no butter, no sugar, no like cream in there. Like there was like the brownies were like no sugar, no taste at all. Like almost like sand. That's how I feel. How
I thought she poisoned us because it was like.
That's how I feel the movies are today. It's like it looks really great on the outside, and it's like you put all, and like she did, like she put all the right things. There's no sugar in there. You won't get sick from the sugar. There's no blah blah blah. And there's no blah blah blah. But the thing is, like people want the bad stuff in the movie. People want the character to be rough around the edges. People want the character to not always do the right thing. Why are you trying to make every character like Mother Teresa? Like, why do you want everyone to be perfectly honest all the time? You know, like, why not make them be a little, like, you know, rough around the edges and stuff?
All right, so we got 5 goals that time around. We did a little bit better against Waluigi, who had 2. They had 16 shots at goal. We had 26. They had 4 total hits. We had 49. They only had 1 steal. We had 0 steals. We had 2 super strikes. So I cut down on the super strikes a little bit. I don't think we got a trophy that time, but maybe we did. Did we get a trophy? Trophy. No trophy this time. That's fine. So we still have quite a ways to go. Wario is next. Peachy's got it. Ah.
She's got it.
Wario.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's just like they're missing the whole point. Like, it's funny that they try to figure out what's wrong with it, when the whole thing that's wrong with it is it's not fun anymore.
But the problem is, okay, back in the day, let's use cartoons for instance. Several times Hasbro tried to reinvent G.I. Joe after it went off the air. They tried to bring G.I. Joe back, and it didn't work. Every time they brought it back, it was like not what people remembered G.I. Joe was. The first time they did it was like during the, I like to call it the extreme era of the 90s, where they had like so many shows where in the literal title of the show was like, you know, Mummies Extreme or G.I. Joe Extreme, and you'd have like these very big masculine like characters with like muscles for days. They looked like the Hulk. And that wasn't G.I. Joe, you know, and you didn't have characters that people recognized from G.I. Joe. You had the name and the brand of G.I. Joe and kind of the theme song a little bit, but the core aspect of what made G.I. Joe, which is a bunch of, like, regular Joes who had a particular set of skills fighting a terrorist organization and, you know, at the end of the day doing a PSA. That was G.I. Joe. They shot lasers. There was like a diverse group of characters that got together, and they were special forces.
Right.
But when you added like all these, in G.I. Joe's Extremes case, they added like these super buff characters, and the villains were all super buff, and all the characters sounded like this, and you know the music was like G.I. Joe Extreme with explosions. It was like Michael Bay's version of G.I. Joe, right?
Yeah.
It got canceled after, I think it was like 20 episodes, lasted 1 season. And then, okay, Hasbro's like, all right, that didn't work. So 3 years later, they come back with another G.I. Joe show. And this time they're like, you want to know what people want with G.I. Joe? Transformers really popular again. Let's do G.I. Joe Sigma. And they're going to transform into giant robots. But we'll bring back characters that people like Duke and Scarlet and all these other people. But instead of it just being a co-op, you know, covert, whatever team, they're going to get into giant robots. And that failed. And they're like, I don't understand. We're using the G.I. Joe brand. We have recognizable characters, but it's like, it's not G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe didn't get inside of like giant vehicles that turned into robots. You know, that's Transformers. You already have a brand for that. And they just couldn't find a way of bringing G.I. Joe back to a point where the public would be like, okay, this is G.I. Joe. And even when they did the movie with Channing Tatum or whatever, they had the G.I. Joes wear these weird power suits and made them like superheroes. for their first two movies.
It's like people keep missing the. They don't understand the magic that made all these 80s shows popular. Like, the people who created these 80s shows, they understood the magic of it. Like the people who were special forces fighting Cobra and working together as a team and just being happy working together and, getting to know each other and stuff like that and all having their cool things about them. That was the show. Like, you didn't need to add them to transform or anything like that. Like, it's almost like people don't understand that, especially like little kids, like when they see, like their uncle or something who goes off in the military, like, to them, their uncle doesn't need to transform into a robot to be cool. He is cool because he has a military outfit and he's defending freedom. That is the cool thing that they're doing.
Well, the reason why they did that too is a lot of kids were, growing up with Power Rangers, and Power Rangers was the superhero team that transformed and summoned a giant robot. It was like it combined elements that kids loved, which was superheroes and robots, into one show that was successful. So all these other brands tried to chase after Power Rangers for what Power Ranger was, and it didn't work. And when they finally did bring G.I. Joe back, and it had a mini successful run in the late 2000s, they brought the core characters back. They did Espionage. It was around the same time that G.I. Joe live-action movie came out.
Yeah.
And they had characters like Roadblock and Duke and Scarlet again. It was a little bit more mature of a show, but it was still focused on corporate espionage. But the show became more, instead of G.I. Joe, it was kind of like Mission Impossible. But it worked for a while. It made 2 seasons, but it still got canceled. And then they tried going, okay, most of these kids grew up with G.I. Joe and they're adults with families now. Let's make an R-rated G.I. Joe movie, like cartoon. And people loved it, but they only made 1 of them.
Yeah.
And the R-rated movie was great. It showed Cobra Commander, said he was always holding back and he wasn't taken seriously enough as a villain, so it would show him killing his own people and stuff like that. And it worked, though. Like, people loved that movie, but we never got another one.
Like, some people believe that art needs to always evolve and change, or people get bored.
But that's not the thing with 80s brands, which Ninja Turtles has proven successfully. Ninja Turtles has only subtly made some changes to the franchise.
Yeah,
they haven't done full-blown drastic changes. It's still the same core thing. 4 brothers, a rat master, a human friend named April, fighting the Shredder, fighting the Foot. Sometimes there's rap music, sometimes there's rock music. Sometimes the character designs look like Michael Bay, sometimes they look like ninjas.
I guess you're right, like, the Ninja Turtles are always the same. They never change the formula. It's always 4 brothers that, fight with ninja skills, and they have Master Splinter's their master. It's always the same.
To some extent. I mean, they make some subtle changes. Like, the new Ninja Turtles, the Mutant Mayhem, they made too many changes that, unfortunately, will probably get the show canceled. Because a lot of fans aren't happy with, like, some of the character designs. They don't like some of the storylines. It's a little weird. It's like Activism Ninja Turtles. Like, it's not quite what made Ninja Turtles successful. A lot of fans don't like it.
I'll try to read some comments people have, because everyone isn't responding to what you're saying. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Blue's Cat was saying people just don't have common sense nowadays.
Well, it's because you have to ignore common sense in order to let a lot of, like, the illogical things happen today, because it goes against common sense. So you're, like, conflicted like Darth Vader. Like, there's an inner conflict with you the way society is today, because there are certain things that are wrong, but you're not allowed to say anything against it because, society is trying to tell you what wrong is right now. And, that if you have any type of morality or human decency inside of you, you're like, this conflicts with me, but if I say something like this, I'm going to get canceled online. Or, like, I'm going to get people, like, get all demonic with me and stuff like that. You're not allowed to say up is down and left is right and, girl or boy and things like that. You create, like, kind of like, and these people too, you can see it in their eyes. Like, they have no irises. Like, when they get mad, it's like almost like demon possession. It is.
Oh, I've seen I've seen some weird pictures of. I have seen a video of a girl that was doing some questionable work, and she was screaming because she didn't want to have to pick up her kid from. She didn't want to take care of her kid. She wanted to do more of her questionable job, which was very bad. Her job was bad, let's just say. And when she was screaming about having to take care of her child, her eyes looked really strange, and it did look like she was possessed.
Whenever you see these people on TikTok yelling and saying things against, like, conservatives or Christians or, like, just, you know, families and stuff like that, their eyes bug out of their head, their veins pop out of their neck when they're screaming and calling people, like, brown shirt and all this other stuff. They look like they're demon-possessed, like, 100%. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't even say that this was a culture war the past 10 years. The reason why there was such a clash and, like, so many people turned against them eventually is because this was a war against common sense.
Yeah,
and the rest of the world had common sense.
It was like they really hated society, really. They hated everyone who was just...
They hated the structure of society.
Life and just doing their normal thing. Helping their family out with chores, going to work, you know, going to their job, going to church, going to their vet appointments, doing their normal stuff. They hated that. They were like, you know, I hate you all because you don't understand society is, you know, set against me. And it's like, well, we can't stop the world to try to help you because we're trying to just go to work and do our job and just continue helping our families and just doing our normal life. We can't stop the whole world because you're feeling sad. Like, we
also,
can't stop the whole world for you.
When they were telling people you have to refer to me as this, that, and the other, it's like, but when you're forcing someone else to do what you want, you're taking away the other person's freedom to not have to, you know, go into your delusional state with you. Like, what they don't understand is where they're demanding people, you need to call me this. Like, you can't force someone to do anything because that person has their own freedoms. Just like you have your freedom to do whatever you want.
I mean, like,
you can't change the other person to adhere to what your thing is.
It's like when I go to the post office, it's like, I'd like for people to call me miss because it'd make me feel younger. But generally, they're going to call me ma'am. And I can't help what they're going to call me. Like, I can't tell them what they're going to call me. They're going to decide what to call me. So I really can't tell. Like, and, you know, I could throw a hissy fit about it, but it's like, what I don't like is a lot of these interactions is just one thing. It's like a small interaction. Like, you're there at the post office, the person calls you the wrong thing. You could just literally just be like, take a breath and be like, this offended me, but I'm just gonna let it go so I can get rid of the, you know, done with the rest of my chores for the day, and so I don't crash out in this public place.
The crash out term is becoming part of our vocabulary now.
Yeah.
Peach 4 goals, Wario 1 goal. Total shots was 28. 11 shots for Wario with 1 goal. 42 total hits from me. 4 total hits from the other team. 1 steal for Wario. 2 super strikes, and nobody had any perfect passes.
Miss Deanna says, Miss Amber, I grew up with kids that would play Power Rangers and had Power Rangers plates.
Ooh.
Along with Power Rangers balloons for parties. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, the party industry made... There we go, guys, finally! Paramedic Award, we got it! Woo!
Oh, wow. And Miss Deanna says also, G.I. Joe was made by Hasbro and attracted boys that were like 5 years old. It was the first boy doll of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, Miss Deanna.
Yep, and I literally watched them try to reinvent G.I. Joe for so many years until they finally went back to the formula that made G.I. Joe what it was. A bunch of, you know, diverse group of soldiers getting together to fight a terrorist organization. That was it. You know, the giant robot thing didn't work. The huge steroid muscle things didn't work with the Michael Bay slow motion and explosions. You know, at one point, they even thought about turning G.I. Joe into, like, mutant characters like Ninja Turtles to try to, you know, chase after the Ninja Turtles, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja thing, you know? Because there were shows that tried to do that. They're like, we're going to have more Animorph characters like Biker Mice from Mars and Toads and Street Sharks. Because Ninja Turtles is successful, why can't we be? Let's do it!
Alright, yep. Hey, Droggles, I'll be with y'all a bit after I turn on my computer and my coffee.
Okay.
Peach wins again, says Mr. Darthrian. And Miss Deanna says, Miss Amber, my mom told me I would be called ma'am the moment I turn 18. I'm used to it, and I've always actually wanted to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I actually want to...
That's a great way to think about it, Miss Deanna.
Yep, I do want to talk about that. Transformers Beast Wars was the only successful new twist, but if you really think about it, Transformers Beast Wars didn't change the formula too much. Instead of it being the Autobots versus the Decepticons, it was the Predacons versus the Maximals. And they still transformed. They were robots that now transformed and took the guise of, instead of vehicles, it was dinosaurs. So Beast Wars was still, at its core, a show about robots that transformed. It's just they didn't transform into vehicles anymore. They transformed into, you know, animals and dinosaurs and stuff. It still kept to the core mechanics of what made that brand successful. They just reimagined Transformers for the 90s, and it worked because it was like, okay, we're now transforming into dinosaurs and animals, but we're still Transformers. That was one of the successful relaunches from the 90s, and I did enjoy Beast Wars, and Beast Wars was also a much more mature show than Transformers, because, you know, Transformers the movie killed people. Transformers Beast Wars, there were characters that died all the time. You know, it was almost like watching an anime, where in anime characters can get yeeted at any time, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in war, is characters die. So they incorporated that same ideal for Beast Wars, and it really captured the attention of 90s kids, because they're like, yeah, my brother used to watch, you know, I didn't have a brother, but kids in the 90s, they would have had brothers and sisters who were probably teenagers in the 80s, so they grew up with things like Transformers and He-Man and stuff like that, and Voltron.
So then their brother or sister used to watch it, and then they ended up watching it later.
Well, they ended up getting their own version of that show. So instead of G1 Transformers that the 80s kids had, the 90s kids had Beast Wars.
Oh, I see.
And Hasbro kept reinventing Transformers subtly over the next 20 years with different animes that did release on Cartoon Network. Transformers Armada, Transformers Cybertron, Transformers, all kinds of stuff.
Blues Cat was saying G.I. Joe Sigma 6 was when the franchise has an anime phase, and it was cool.
Yeah, it was okay.
Big Brother Zelos was saying Disney's trying to do the same thing. Bizarrely, they forgot how nostalgia works. Oh, I think that was from a long time ago.
Oh, that's okay.
So
The reason why they forgot how nostalgia works is because you can't take nostalgia and then mix it with, you know, the nonsense of the 2020s. It doesn't work. It's like trying to force a square block to fit inside a round peg. No matter how much you force it in, it is never going to fit right. You can eventually get it in with duct tape and other things, but it's not going to work for very long. Right, it's going to break the mold. When you're looking at these classic franchises, like Nintendo and all this other stuff, you can't change its core identity too much because it'll become unrecognizable. The reason why Tomb Raider failed its relaunches after the whole Crystal Dynamics thing, where they made Tomb Raider more mature, and, you know, she was literally almost like Turok Survivor mode, which worked because she was never a quote-unquote survivor-like character dealing with insane odds. Those Tomb Raider games worked really well. It's when they decided, okay, we're going to change her specifics of, like, relationships. You know, she's going to like women now, and she's going to be a person who gets stuff from museums in other countries and, you know, steals from, like, white people or whatever. You completely changed what her character was.
So they made her Indiana Jones. This belongs in a museum.
No, she wasn't even Indiana Jones because she hated men. She was, you know, her team consisted of, like, people who had, like, were super overweight or, you know, identified with this, identified with that. It was just really weird. It failed. It didn't happen. The game got canceled. The movie that was in development got canceled because people are like, that's not Tomb Raider. You know, Tomb Raider, when people think Tomb Raider, they think of Angelina Jolie. They think of the 90s, like, games, where she wore, like, a green shirt with, what do you call it? A tight green shirt with like short shorts, and she
Yeah.
carried 2 guns. And then they also think about the 2010's Tomb Raider games where she was surviving insurmountable odds, you know, in winter areas and dealing with bears and armies and stuff like that. And she would have to basically MacGyver her way to beating the game. That was cool. People really liked that version of Tomb Raider. And she was still the same character, it's just now she was in a more R-rated situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that worked. That type of reinventing Lara Croft worked. And then they completely got rid of that.
Yeah, I always thought of Lara Croft as like a darker version than Indiana Jones because it was like
I mean, she carried 2 guns.
She didn't have his. He actually had more restraint than she did, because he had to because he worked as an archaeologist, so he'd get fired if he went too far off.
He killed a lot of people.
Well, I mean, okay, but it had to be in self-defense, though. All right. Well,
I mean, he
all right, well,
he
but
was going up against the
all
German
right,
army. He didn't
did-
say
all right.
when he's holding an M60 machine gun.
right.
He's not like, okay, they're coming at us, Dad. He's like, Dad, shoot them down. You know, they're being chased in a biplane.
okay.
They don't
right.
they don't hesitate to use the mounted machine gun
All
to
right,
fight
yeah,
off
you're
the
right. Okay,
German.
all right. He did have one rule of morality though, which was he didn't keep the stuff for himself and sell it. For
Yeah,
profit.
this belongs in a museum.
So
yeah.
that's the difference. Because Indiana Jones already made his. He did get a small amount from the museum. Sometimes.
I thought he made his money as a professor. Like
He did, but I thought in one of the movies you could see him talking about like how he was gonna get a little bit of money like from a certain thing.
right,
like,
but
a
it
museum.
doesn't end up happening because the
Oh.
Ark of the Covenant doesn't end up in a museum. It ends up somewhere else. And
Yeah, so he never gets that money.
he also returns the relics to that village
Oh yeah,
in
so
the Temple
it
of
doesn't
Doom.
always work out. So he does usually
He
never
doesn't.
get paid.
He doesn't get the Holy Grail. The Holy
So-
Grail is lost.
So that's actually the core difference between Indiana Jones and like Lara Croft is like Lara Croft gets paid.
Yeah,
She sells it
she sells it to the black market and private collectors. Yeah.
to the highest bidder. Like she doesn't care.
There's only a couple games where the relic or something that she's searching for that she doesn't get. But for the most part, yeah, she lives in a extravagant mansion. She drives like, she's like kind of like female James Bond. She has all this expensive gear. She's super wealthy. She can travel.
Yeah.
She has expensive dresses and purses and high heels and guns and helicopters. And Indiana Jones lives in an apartment.
Yeah.
Or he lives, it's shown in one of the movies, he actually lives in his dad's house.
Oh wow.
Like his
Yeah.
dad left him the house and that's where he lives.
And then he works as a professor.
And then he works as a professor, right. He uses most of his money to travel the world or he calls in favors.
You're right.
Yeah.
He does save up to go traveling.
Kim Possible did the same thing. Kim Possible, like, she didn't have any money. She calls in favors to get people to, you know, transport her all over the world because she's a super spy
If
or
she
whatever.
helped somebody in the past, then they can
Yeah.
come in and help her.
So they were big fans of Indiana Jones when they did How Does Kim Possible Get From One Side of the World to the Other? They made a joke about how, like, she has apparently gotten all these favors from different people who are happy to help her. You know, just kind of like how Indy had friends all over the world who were happy to help him.
Yeah, you're right. Like Sala and stuff
Yep.
like that. There was a lot of people who helped Indiana Jones out. Because they were helping him out because of his knowledge about the artifacts. Like, because he was a professor. They wanted to help him out because he was the one who knew the most about it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like changing Lara Croft's character to actually give it to museums is stupid because how is she going to afford to go all over the world? If
Yeah,
she's-
KP was a high school student, but she's still, if you go back and you watch the show, she gets to her destinations and her missions because of, like, people that she's met and stuff like that. And they ask her, like, how's your family doing or how's school going? They don't really explain their deep relationship, but she gets rides from people all over the place. Like, for the entirety of the show, it's a running gag. It's not until, like, much later on that she gets her flying car that she's able to do stuff on her own. Her first, like, 3 seasons or whatever, they do public transportation. They use, you know, Wade is able to basically get them wherever they need to go on a budget.
Oh, that's right. Her parents are doctors as well. I forgot that.
Yeah, but she doesn't have any money. Like, her parents have money. It's never explained how she does all her stuff, how she finances everything.
Hey.
Peach got 3 goals. Luigi had 1 goal.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
30 shots on goal in total. 8 for Luigi. 45 total hits. 0 total steals. They're very good at the steals. I don't know how to steal. I just hit people. Super strikes with 2 for me. Perfect passes were 2 for me, apparently, and 1 perfect pass for Luigi.
She gets some rides for some interesting events that we never get to see, too, says
Yeah,
Drago.
I mean, they don't give you context because it's a 20-minute show, so...
Yeah, they never get to show everything. Oh, you had some friends, you asked some friends to help us out on Patreon. Thank you, Movies with Josh. Thank you to you and your friends and to everyone that helped out. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone. We're so thankful for that. Thank you.
Yep, the creators of Kim Possible said they were inspired by Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, and, like, Saturday morning cartoons. And, James Bond, a little bit.
Yeah, Miles is saying, Lara Croft is like Nathan Drake, but the Uncharted games are better than Tomb Raider, says Miles.
The Uncharted games are fantastic.
They're
Although
really
I
good.
really liked the mature rated Tomb Raider games that came out, where Laura is like literally has to survive and
I like the
MacGyver her
one
way
where
through
she
things.
was chased by a bear, but that was terrifying.
She's chased by a bear in most of her
Oh my
modern
gosh.
games.
The
Yeah.
one that I got the Xbox for, that was cool, but I never even finished it. I wish I could go back to that game and finish
She had a trilogy.
Oh wow.
The first game and the second game are great. The third game is terrible because people are getting kind of tired of that. Like,
I feel like the Tomb Raider games are different than Nathan Drake because it's a different feel to the games from the one Tomb Raider game I played. I feel like the Tomb Raider game I played, it was like I had to watch my character die over and over and over again, repeatedly by hitting the spikes or falling. I feel like Tomb Raider is like 1,000 ways to die.
well,
The
yeah,
game.
they wanted to give the player like something to worry about. So there's death traps and there's things like that. But there were death traps in some Indiana Jones, which is funny. Even though she was inspired, like the people who made Tomb Raider were inspired by Indiana Jones. LucasArts changed how the Indiana Jones games were made in the late 90s. They became Tomb Raider clones. So if you liked the Indiana Jones gameplay of the late 90s and the early 2000s and like Staff of Kings and the Emperor's Tomb and stuff like that, if you compare those games to any Tomb Raider game, the gameplay mechanics are so similar, but the execution is a little bit different. But for the most part, the shooting mechanics and the swimming and how puzzles are solved, they're all based on like that Tomb Raider style. And then they reinvented the Indiana Jones games with the now first-person perspective. So they kind of made it like Doom with puzzles. But yeah, I would argue that the Indiana Jones games like Infernal Machine and Emperor's Tomb and Staff of Kings and some of those other ones are all basically inspired by the Tomb Raider games of the 90s because they share the same type of gameplay identity.
Christiana was saying, okay, she's valedictorian in her class, captain of the cheerleading team, and she has a part-time job as a super spy. When I got to high school, it was kind of like my high school life. This is Miss Deanna because I was actually valedictorian. I was number 7 in my class.
That's amazing.
But everything else was a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, Miss Deanna. That's amazing that you were so high up on your class. Oh my gosh. That's amazing, Miss Deanna.
I was a D student that had lots of jobs.
Wow, that is really cool, Miss Deanna.
Yeah, it is.
That's really awesome.
Ah!
Yeah, so she had a very busy schedule getting all those good grades, so Miss Deanna knows how.
Yeah, but at the core of Kim Possible was a show that was just supposed to be like a teen or a young adult like comedy about like super spies. It wasn't supposed to be something that people took like overly serious. It was like a fun like early 2000 show.
It is cool that they were showing how cool smart kids could be, though. Because sometimes they try to make the smart kid like not as cool, but it was neat that Kim Possible was the A student and she's the super spy also. That's really neat. I love that.
Uh-oh.
Like smart kids represent. Like
Smart
she's
kids.
representing
Smart kids.
She's representing kids that work really hard in school, like Miss Deanna and other people that do really well in school. That's awesome. I think that's a great thing. What about Perfect Dark? Joanna Dark is awesome, says Blue's Cat.
Joanna Dark is not supposed to be a Tomb Raider thing. She's supposed to be female Indiana Jones that operates during the alien invasion of Earth. So she's a super spy, but she ends up fighting aliens. That's what Perfect Dark is about.
Oh.
Joanna Dark is supposed to be like James Bond, but the female variety. But she's not like she's not a womanizer. She's a.
What?
Nothing. I thought you were doing.
I'm doing what? What am I doing? What's the matter?
Nothing. I was just relapsing to past.
Okay, I have no idea what.
Anyway, she is off the books or whatever. When she's not on a mission, she's a very feminine character. So the reason why Perfect Dark got canceled recently is because they were changing her character to be this butch girl that she isn't. Like Joanna Dark is supposed to be this very flirty and fun and like dangerous girl. And they changed her to kind of like, you know, what they always do with strong women characters. You have to change their sexuality and all this other stuff. And it wasn't going to work. Also, the way that her features were, Joanna Dark is supposed to be a very attractive woman. And they basically made her look like a man. So, you know, the game would have released had companies not started to wake up from their 7-year coma like, this isn't going to make any money, we're going to lose millions and millions of dollars. So they canceled it. But Joanna Dark was always this kind of like really cool, sexy super spy that fought aliens. That's pretty much the whole thing that Joanna Dark was.
Hi J-Loom, how's it going? OH says, yeah, and Kim Possible's partner / boyfriend, Ron Stoppable, he was always the sidekick until he became the full-fledged hero in the series.
I love how they ended the series with him getting superpowers. That was such a twist.
What a twist.
It was amazing.
Miss Tiana says, Mr. Luke, I grew up watching shows like KC Undercover, The Replacements, The X's. I'm used to shows with spies in them.
Yeah, there was a lot of spy shows in the 2000s.
When I heard about Spy X Family, I rolled my eyes and was like, here we go again, says Miss Tiana. Yeah.
Spy Family's so good! It's coming back this October. I'm so excited.
I like the Spy Kids movies.
Spy Kids movies were fun.
They're cute.
Peach dominates semifinals. Way to go. Destroyed Mario.
I like the movie with Jackie Chan, the Spy Kid, the Spy Next Door. Where he's a spy and then he has to babysit for like a girl. He's dating a lady and he wants to marry her, but she has to test him and see if he can take care of her kids. But then she doesn't know he's a spy.
Why did the Perfect Dark remake get canceled? Because they changed her core character. Fans were not going to pay for it, and Microsoft didn't want to take the gamble. So Microsoft, which is weird because Microsoft was pushing weird stuff like Fable and all this other stuff that apparently they fixed Fable and some other things. Like a lot of games that are going to come out from 2026 and 2027, they're going back to attractive looking characters in gaming. Like I said, all that stuff that happened from like 2018 through like 2024, most of that is going away because companies know that they can't make money. They're going to go not as extreme as like Marvel Rivals, which I still say Marvel Rivals female costumes are pretty tame compared to superhero games I grew up with and Mortal Kombat games I grew up with, where females are basically running around in bathing suits with like thigh-high boots and stuff like that and capes. So like, but they're at the same time going to make it so these characters look appealing so that people want to play and buy them, because that's just how marketing works. the fact that people shied away from like intelligent marketing for a decade needs to be studied, because that was such a dumb decision. It cost the game industry, the film industry, television industry, the comic book industry millions upon millions of dollars in losses every year. It wasn't just once. It was millions.
I think if there was like a group of women that really did have a problem with the attractive female characters, and they were a core, like if they were like half of the audience that was buying the games, I could understand if they would change some of the games and make it like that for them. But the reality is
they're 1%.
There wasn't a group of people that, and if there was a group of people that was offended, they weren't actually buying the games to begin with. That was the main problem, is even if there were lots of people offended, those people weren't buying games anyway.
There was a 1%. So game studios in the West cater to the 1% of the gaming market, which most of those people, like you said, don't even buy games. So it's like 1%, so the minority, as opposed to the majority that like to buy games that have attractive characters, fun gameplay, all this other stuff. So when we were talking about Nintendo before, Nintendo has stuck to the same pattern while not reinventing the wheel, but changing the environments that the characters are in. The characters, Mario and Link and Zelda and Donkey Kong, they're the same characters you knew and loved from the 80s, but Nintendo, with their games, places them in different environments. For example, you took the 2D Mario games that were in a two-dimensional plane, and then you brought Mario into a 3D environment with Mario 64. Then you're like, okay, we did the whole 3D Mario thing, what can we do next? Let's send Mario on a tropical vacation. You know, giving him this water gun thing to deal with pollution. That was unique. That was different. Let's take Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Let's make him a little kid, and let's make it a cartoon. We're gonna call it cell shading, and we're gonna have Toon Link be super expressive like an anime. You know, so you took these existing characters, but you brought them into new gameplay ideas, but at the core of the characters, they were still the same. Which people make fun of Nintendo for nostalgia all the time, but Nintendo does reinvent situations for the characters. Mario's gone into space. Mario's had an Odyssey. You know, Donkey Kong is going to have a Bonanza. He's had a Donkey Kong Country. But the core of the character is still the same, whereas if you look at all these other characters, Tomb Raider has changed exponentially from her 90s appearance. Indiana Jones has changed since the 80s. Transformers have changed. Ninja Turtles have changed. Nintendo characters are still the same. It's just their adventures change.
Yeah.
And that's why people are able to attach to them, is because they remember these characters from their childhood, and the characters are still fun today, but their adventures, their environment, their way of doing things has broadened, but they haven't changed their core values. They haven't changed their sensibilities. They haven't changed their personalities. It's the same characters. It's just the grander scheme of what they're doing has expanded in a way that encompasses what's going on with gaming today. It still feels modern, but at the same time, it also still feels the same.
Yeah, it's like Nintendo's the only one doing it right. Well, I mean, there's a few other people doing it right. Sega, obviously.
Sega, yeah.
But it's like, instead of trying to put in modern, instead of adding modern things in, as in modern wars and political climates and all sorts of stuff, put it into the game. Instead of adding modern, like, drama from the outside world into the game, instead of that, they're just adding modern new techniques and making the game more fun.
Yep. So Peach had 5 goals. Mario had 0. This was the semifinals. 26 shots on goal, 4 shots from Mario. 56 total hits from me. 4 total hits from Mario, 1 steal from Mario's team, 4 super strikes from mine, 1 perfect pass. Like, even though this is hard mode, I am really preventing the computer from doing anything. Like, I'm destroying the computer.
I was a big fan of The Mummy and National Treasure because they had the Indiana Jones feeling, says Movies with Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Jalem says, I'm in Boston right now. Have fun in Boston. Make sure you get lots of, well, if you aren't allergic to clams, get some clam chowder if you can find some.
Clam chowder's good in the...
in Boston.
It's good in Boston, but I wouldn't recommend it in the summer. Clam chowder is what you want to eat in
the I would still eat some fish if I was in Boston. They have very fresh fish there. Oh, Go to, I mean, I don't know where you are. Well, you're in Boston. If you go to, like, the waterfront, like in Plymouth or something, you can go to and get some really delicious, like, you can find all kinds of cool shops and visit the Mayflower and stuff. But, yeah, I know that's, like, an hour away.
I knew that was going to be an NES controller, by the way. Veteran Award.
Oh, did you guys watch Spy vs. Spy, Luke? I haven't seen that. I know what that is.
Spy?
It's cartoon spies that...
That 80s thing?
You have to have great characters and that look nice, a great story, fun gameplay, and great sounds. Those are the ingredients to something that you'll love for all audiences, says Blues Cat. Yeah, I agree.
And the game industry lost sight of that for like 10 years, but the reason why Tomb Raider and a lot of these other games are getting canceled left and right is because the shareholders and all these other people are like, you know what? None of this is working. None of these people that you're trying to cater to are buying the games. We're losing our reputation. People aren't buying our other games. We're done. You know, we don't really... And this is a thing. This is a sad thing, but it's true. If the game industry really cared about certain issues, then this year, like every year, they would have wore the rainbow pin. Like, the fact that there was no rainbow pin and no forcing stuff in June whatsoever shows you that the climate is shifting because these companies are realizing they're losing money doing this.
It was something they were trying out.
They did it for about 20 years.
To see if it would help, like, make people like them more or something. And it didn't, because those people can never be satisfied. Like, even with the pin, it's still not good enough. They need more things.
Well, I can talk about this now. When Amber and I went to E3, the several times that we went, or the couple times we went, they actually tried to pressure us to wear the rainbow pin. Like, when we were on the show floor and stuff like that. And if you didn't wear it, people would look at you weird. Like, why aren't you wearing this? Like, there was technically a choice not to do it, but if you didn't, you basically had people, like, look at you weird and stuff like that, because everyone was wearing them.
It's like the board or something.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. It was like, you know, even back then, like 2014, 2013, 2012, they were, like, pushing stuff.
They should all be looking at themselves weird now, because
Nobody's doing it anymore. Very few. There's only a couple game studios in June that actually had the banner change and stuff like that on Twitter. There was no big marketing push, like, for... I don't even think Target did anything this year. They had American memorabilia in June for selling and stuff like that.
I mean, one thing I don't like to be forced to do something. It's very stressful.
Well, of course not. You shouldn't... I mean, there could be an option for things, but you shouldn't force people and make them feel bad about stuff. Exactly. So, you know, when I still, like, I couldn't believe it. I was watching the Summer Game Fest, and I was like... Every year they always have like a certain spotlight where they do something that makes people uncomfortable and they push certain games that make people annoyed, and then there's a big fight on Twitter or something like that. It's routine. And none of that happened this year. Like, that I know of. I mean, I didn't watch the Xbox show, but it really looked like all the games that I saw this year and the games that are coming out in 2026 and things like that, they're just regular games.
Yeah, they were just trying to promote people having fun and enjoying life, basically, with the games.
Like, usually for the past, like, 10 years, I always get mad at, like, some type of game announcement, or I always see them pushing something or the other, and, like, I didn't have any stress this year whatsoever that I can think of. Well, I mean, I had stress from people stealing from us in June, but, like, I was actually like, wow, this looks interesting. This game looks interesting. And
it's the difference between a political issue being the main focus of the game or being a side point or side story of the game. Like, it's like the game is supposed to be a fun game where your character goes on an adventure, solves a problem, and gets to the end of the game. It's like, if you make the whole point some kind of like, you're making some kind of statement or something, that doesn't make it as fun, you know? So, yeah.
Hit the post.
But anyways, I don't even remember. So anyways, I think we got on this topic because of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, of course, because the Fantastic Four is...
I don't even know. I just have a weird feeling about it.
No, they've already said it.
Well, I don't know what it is about, so
both the guy who plays Johnny Storm and the lady who plays Sue Storm, they've already basically said what they're doing differently, and they even called the original Fantastic Four movies toxic. So
that's really wrong because like people really enjoyed those movies.
Especially, I think it's rude to do that kind of stuff because the guy who just played Doctor Doom from those original movies just passed away.
And it's rude to everyone who was in those movies. I mean, I'm sure Jessica Alba didn't want to do all those like weird jokes about her and stuff. I'm sure some of that made her feel uncomfortable, but she did it. Honestly, let's just be honest. She did it so that she could help promote the movie, so she could make a good film, so that people would buy it because she was doing her job.
Also, I don't even.
That's how I really feel about it.
I remember marketing with her like suit a little zippered down, but in the movie, I don't remember her zipping really down her stuff very much, like and having that show up in shots. She took off her stuff to be completely invisible sometimes.
That was the main thing, like that she had when she first was getting her invisible powers. I mean, I haven't watched the whole film in a long time, but
it's been about like 10,
but I was
15
watching
years.
clips from it a while ago because they were marketing the new one, and that was one of the first things. That was basically the jokes, like because she was becoming invisible and she didn't want to freak people out because they had just saw her suit or her towel or her clothes or whatever were just floating around, so they didn't want to scare people, so she would take off what she was wearing so she didn't scare people, but then she would randomly turn invisible again, and then she needed to grab somebody's like shirt and get out of there or something.
But eventually they made her a suit that would go invisible with her, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reed makes her a suit.
It's like, I don't know, I just feel like it's rude because it's like, I mean...
What was great about the 2000s movies, though, is they were the most real superhero movies you could have because based on what would really happen, if somebody did have the power to turn invisible, they would take off all their clothes to be invisible, you know?
Right.
It was like they made a suit that would work with her powers, but in the beginning... yeah, it would make sense that this would happen. That's why a lot of the early 2000s superhero movies are as real as possible. Like Spider-Man, for instance. Like how he deals with stuff and how he makes his first suit is very realistic and things like that. And, you know, how his character, why Tobey's, you know, Spider-Man is so relatable to people is because Sam Raimi was making a Spider-Man movie about how it would work if someone really got spider powers, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, he was doing the comic book thing to some extent, but also he wanted to make a very real version of Peter Parker, and that's why I would say with people who didn't grow up with Tobey Maguire as their Spider-Man, compared to like Tom Holland and all these other ones, I would say Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are very comic booky with their interpretations of Spider-Man, and the more realistic approach to Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. Like this... Tobey was doing it under the way of, hey, this is how Spider-Man would be and if it was real life.
Yeah.
And that's why he was so relatable and so down on his luck and all this other stuff. He was a character that just kind of like, it worked.
Yeah, that was like I feel like a 2000s thing where they would show this is how it would really be.
I mean, look at the X-Men movies. The Fox, like 1999, early 2000s, like they weren't running around in super spandex stuff. They were wearing like black, like stealth uniforms. You know, because they were doing operations that they didn't want people to be able to really see them very much. They all wore the same thing, and they made jokes about the yellow spandex and stuff like that. But they were a covert team of, you know, superheroes, basically.
Yeah.
When they were flying around in their Blackbird in the Fox movies, Storm would use a cover of clouds to hide the jet when they're flying and stuff like that. So they would have the element of surprise.
Yeah.
And they even went to Muir Island, where the Statue of Liberty is, or whatever. Or not Muir Island. They went to Liberty Island in the dead of night, where nobody could really see them when they were attacking the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So there was a lot of things. If you go back and you watch like the Blade movies, the Spider-Man movie, the first Fantastic Four movie, things like that, they were trying to make these characters work in a real-world setting. And not so much a fantasy or a comic book approach, which is why they kind of threw away a lot of those like very comic booky elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas today, nowadays when they make comic book movies, they try to make them as comic booky as possible. Like the new Superman movie, for instance, that's coming out. It's been called a very comic booky film because James Gunn, his style of doing stuff is not so much the style of like filmmaking in the 2000s and the late 90s. He's literally trying to make a comic book come to life. And it's not so much Superman being in the real world, it's Superman living in this comic book world and the audience is invited to the adventure. That's the difference between Henry Cavill's Superman, which was Zack Snyder was trying to make, what if Superman existed in our world today? You know, how would Superman behave in that real world setting? Whereas James Gunn's Superman is your invited audience to come to this comic book world of fantastical elements and, you know, sci-fi and comic book stuff, and to experience the universe of this Superman, this new Superman, through the lens of their eyes instead of, okay, this is how Superman would act and behave in the real world. Zack Snyder was a realist. James Gunn is a comic book enthusiast. So that they have two different approaches to filmmaking. So that's the difference. All right, so Peach had 5 goals out of 2 for Yoshi, 27 total shots, 12 total shots for Yoshi, 46 total hits for Peach, 0 hits for Yoshi. I didn't let him hit once in the final. Total steals were 0, total super strikes were 2, and perfect passes were 3. Everything else was 0. This was a complete shutout on the part of the computer. I destroyed them.
Oh, we misspelled Bowser in the title. I didn't realize that.
You did?
You're gonna see it on Thursday? Wow, Richard.
Wait, I did? How do you spell Bowser?
Bowser.
B-O-W... Oh. Okay. Defeat Bowser's super team to win the Bowser Cup. What is that?
Well, you're heading to Maine after Boston. Awesome, Jalen. That's really great. Yeah, edginess, Kwingsletsplays, because I remember as a kid they wanted to make all the games edgy in the 2000s. Like, if you were caught playing a Nintendo game, they'd call you a baby, says Miss Deanna.
Yeah, they did, but even the edgy games, like, they never... This is... The one thing that I don't understand, the video game industry wouldn't have lost so much money if they wouldn't have been experimenting too much with social issues and, like, political climate stuff. Because even the 2000s that had, like, really interesting new IPs like Devil May Cry, it was essentially a modern version of Castlevania. You had this guy who was a demon hunter and a vampire hunter and whatever, and he was using, like, modern language, and he dressed modern, and he had pop culture jokes. And it was a really fun game, but it was different than the Castlevania stuff that Capcom obviously was inspired by. And they changed it. So instead of Baroque style music, you had heavy metal music that had like kind of a Castlevania vibe to it.
Yeah, I wonder if instead of working so hard on Devil May Cry, if they had just kind of worked really hard on Castlevania and made it more modern.
Castlevania was reinvented. They jumped into 3D with Lament of Innocence and stuff like that. It didn't work. Some franchises do not transition well into 3D. I would even argue that the Castlevania Lords of Shadow thing was just essentially God of War. It was like Konami copying Sony's God of War franchise.
The previews are on Thursday. Wow, Richard, I don't even know how to get into the previews.
You have to have money. What the heck? Now we're fighting aliens?
We have to wait till we get paid, and even when we get paid, won't be very much, because it will just be like 4 days of work on the channel.
Yeah, we can only afford 2 games this month, and one, maybe, I don't even know. It's going to be very tight, because next week we're looking at Marvel Rivals' new Jean Grey and Blade, but I don't think we can get any costumes for it unless, like, you know, something changes. So we'll just be looking at the core base stuff for... Or not Blade, sorry. Jean Grey is the new character. Blade will be coming out in August sometime. Jean Grey is first. Well, and she's known as Phoenix.
Jalen says, I hope that James Gunn will not make Batman too comic booky.
He will.
He's gonna ruin Batman, I think, because Batman just doesn't work as... I mean...
No. We had a comic booky Batman movie. It was called Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that was terrible.
That was terrible, yeah. No.
If James Gunn makes it like that, oh my gosh.
James Gunn is inspired by Grant Morrison, so you are going to have a comic booky film for Batman, but it's not going to be that bad, because the Grant Morrison run was okay. There were better Batman writers and artists and stuff like that in the 2000s, but Grant Morrison wasn't horrible. But James Gunn has already said he's a huge Grant Morrison fan. Like, he is massive Grant Morrison fan.
Are you going to be covering 1943 Rise of Hydra, says Quintatsu?
If it still comes out.
Miss Diana says Phoenix is going to be in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, I know it's Phoenix.
Phoenix?
Jean Grey is Phoenix.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Buddy, do you need to get downstairs? Link? It's been 3 hours. Do you need a potty break, buddy? Are you getting some food? What are you doing? Usually he'll stand behind his door if he needs to go. It doesn't look like it. He's not standing by the door. Oh wow, I didn't even see that. Boom, boom. Remember, guys and gals, to watch the YouTube shorts to keep the channel stable.
I hope he does Nightwing justice, says Alpha.
Well, I mean, David Cornsweat said he wants to have Superman interact with Nightwing, so if his Superman movie is successful, that means we will see Nightwing. Because Superman has a, thanks to Chuck Dixon, like, Superman is kind of like a uncle-like character to Nightwing. Like
in one of the Lego games, they had one of the Robins be like a super fan of
that was Dick.
Superman.
That was Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he's like an uncle figure.
Well, yeah. Chuck Dixon wrote Superman cameos in like books that Dick Grayson like always went to go talk to Superman for advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because his dad wasn't that cheery.
Well, not just that. Like, Dick Grayson was a fan of Superman. He liked, Batman was like his work, partner and stuff like that. And the way that Batman handles crime is a lot different than how Superman is. And, Dick Grayson is a very optimistic guy, and he didn't have to live his life in darkness because Bruce adopted him at a young age. So he had a father, basically, and he was able to channel his anger appropriately, and so he looked up to what Superman meant, like the symbol of Superman. So yeah, Superman and Nightwing have like chats every once in a while in comic books, and David Cornsweat wants to incorporate that because they've already said that this Batman is going to be a guy who's older, who has a bat family, so the idea of Nightwing popping up in the new DC universe is a lot more believable than what Zack Snyder was going to do because he killed Dick Grayson.
Right. That was his name.
So I would totally be fine with Nightwing showing up. Hey, puppy. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
You just bought Gotham Knights, Quintatsu? Do you have any advice?
Don't buy it?
Can you get a refund?
Can you get a refund? No. When Amber and I played the game, it was really bad. They fixed some gameplay elements of it, so it's not as bad, but the story is still pretty blah. The story is pretty cringe.
I mean, I forgot how we ended up, because I think you have to level up a lot.
You have to level up a ton, yeah.
You have to basically grind a lot, because you can't really do counterattacks and stuff like that, like in Arkham. You can't really do that.
No.
You can't really grab somebody's fist and then push it against them. You just have to. You just have to do a lot of dodging.
Yep.
You just have to flip and dodge a lot to get out of the way. Whenever they try to punch you, you have to flip or dodge. Then try to punch them.
Wow, we destroyed the computer. I'm actually getting pretty good at this. Maybe. I don't know.
Great job.
Bowser Cup is complete. Wait, did I spell
Can you
Bowser?
imagine if it had to follow soccer's actual rules, says Braga.
Yeah, no, I can't play actual soccer games. I can
you
play
can.
soccer games that are like hockey games, so Mario soccer games work really well for me.
I can't wait till this game has to follow soccer's actual rules, because I would jump into the game, be the referee, and be handing Luke 17, if not 70, red cards every single match because he is kicking and shoving people on the field, which is completely against the rules. That is, you're not... Okay, if you're playing soccer in real rules, if you kick or shove somebody and they do not have the ball, you automatically get a yellow or red card. You're only supposed to be able to sort of slightly tackle somebody if you were trying to get the ball. If you're in the middle of the field and they're just standing there and you hit them, you that's a foul.
What? No.
Yes, it is.
Nah, you can
Yes, it is.
slam them into electric
No,
fences.
you
and...
can't. That's a foul. You know, I'm dubbing you 120 red cards for this match. That's how many times I think you broke the rules. I can imagine somebody like playing this game and then practicing in their yard like soccer and then signing up for a team, a soccer team like in college or something, and then they start shoving people into the wall and kicking them in the middle of the field, and it's like, what it's like,
What now? What now?
it's like, what do I do, ref? It's like, you can't do that. It's like, I played soccer growing up. It's like, what rules were you playing? Mario. There's your problem right there.
Whoopsies. Goal.
The rules to real soccer are much different than the Mario. Also, in actual soccer, you would not have an electric fence next to the soccer field.
What's wrong with an electric fence?
If anything, you'd have padding to make sure that people don't get hurt. Why would you put hazards on the field?
Why not?
It's terrible. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Nah, they're robots. Alright, so Peach's final was... Then this was the final. So, this game threw you for a loop. They're like, okay, you're gonna fight the final against Yoshi. And then they're like, no, now you gotta fight, like, evil aliens like it's Space Jam. Like, they come out of nowhere and they're like, okay, here you go. You gotta do this now.
Oh yeah, Drago was saying you're actually offside. Yeah, the characters are offsides a lot. You can't actually run... In real soccer, you cannot run way past the other team's defense and wait for the ball down there at their side.
It's an arcade sports
I
game,
know.
and it's really fun.
I know.
Alright, so Super Team had 0 goals. Peach had 3. Peachy's got it. Total shots for Super Team was 8 to my 28. Total hits was 2. They had, I had 60 hits. And, perfect passes, they had 1. I had 3 super strikes and I had 2 perfect passes. Perfect passes are hard for me to do.
Peachy's got it.
So what do we get now? Do we unlock a character? Is Bowser even unlockable in this? Hello. Peachy wins.
Peachy wins.
Congratulations
Wow,
to Peach.
Her voice was very high. It was like, Peach.
Well, I liked Peach's voice, and like
No, I like it high. It's cute.
they retired her voice actress. Did you hear what happened? Like they didn't
No.
tell her that they retired her until after they had recorded like the latest game, and they said, "By the way, we replaced you." And
Aw,
she'd been
that's
she'd been
rude.
doing the voice for like since I think like 2003. I think she's been doing the voice since Mario Sunshine. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm taking over this department and I'm firing you.
Yeah.
Didn't you get the memo?
Exactly. Yeah. That's messed up.
It's like, why? That's ruthless.
Super Cup battles are now open, so I guess we could try Super Cup battles tomorrow. Did we get anything? Super Team is now available in Team Select, so now you can play as the robots. That's weird, though.
Drago says, I know, I'm just having a little fun with the offsides things. Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I didn't even realize they are offsides all the time, Drago. I forgot about that. Yeah. I feel like the original voice actress from Peach, as Peach, should become a super villain and should fight against regular Peach and be like, you stole my job. Now I'll steal your kingdom.
So this Cup, Amber, I hit people 466 times in the Bowser Cup. That's a total of 1,227 in 4 episodes of this game.
All of those are red cards.
Nah, it doesn't matter. 115 Super Strikes for in total, 116 goals.
Well, actually, I think you get a warning, so... Like,
I get a warning.
Half, like 200 of those are yellow cards, 230 of those are red cards. Because you get like a yellow card as a warning, then you get a red card.
Oh, this is creative. Next Level Games made this? Wow.
That is.
Oh, that's an old game developer. This is 20-something years ago. 20... Oh my gosh, how many years? That's a while ago.
Next Level Games.
Yeah.
I love the old Peach voice, says Miles.
The old Peach voice was fun.
Peachy's got it.
Yep. So we're not done with the Mario Soccer thing, guys. I'm gonna try the Super mode tomorrow. So we're still going. This stream series is probably gonna have like, I don't know, at least 10 episodes, maybe. And then I'll do Donkey Kong Country 3 after that. I'm gonna be doing the Champions Ballad today in Zelda. So make sure you guys head over to Zelda. The faster we get people into the Zelda stream, the quicker we can start. It's very hard for me to start streams with only 30 people watching. So, like, if you guys don't want the Zelda stream to be, like, the music running for an hour, gotta have, like, 60 people or 70 people waiting. Otherwise, it's gonna take forever to get views. Like, it's just what it is. And amazingly, this is what I don't understand. Amber and I, for the first time in years... We're picking up 100 subscribers a day. It's been almost 2 weeks of 100 subscribers a day.
Yeah, I don't know where all those people are going.
I have no idea.
Because we don't see them coming into the streams.
I don't know. Maybe I don't understand what's happening, but maybe people are watching older videos and subscribing on those. I don't know. I'm going to let you down in just a second, buddy. Just a second, puppy. Credits. Yeah, see, he tells you when he wants to go down. He's a smart boy. He's a smart boy. Smart puppy. Yes, I stand outside the bathroom when I need to go too. Wait for you to open the door so I can head downstairs. Yep. Yep.
Well,
that's
I wouldn't have told people that on the stream.
Oh, wow, yeah, no. Well, I mean, when I'm in my 60s or something, I'll probably need that. Amber, open the door! TMI. That's like 20-something years away, so... something to look forward to, Amber.
I guess it depends on how fast your mind deteriorates.
Well, I mean, I did have that car accident, so I guess we'll find out.
3 years away.
3 years away. Yeah. I'm gonna end up like replaying the same stories on my live streams because I won't remember any new stuff and just replay the same like 5 years of my life over and over again in stories. Be like reruns with new gameplay. I don't really like their ending credits here. It's not very good.
You'll tell the same stories all the time. Did I ever tell you the time that I met Kevin Conroy? Well, we were standing in line.
Yep. I already told that story.
I know.
I've told that story a couple times. All rights, including copyrights of the game, scenario, music, and program. Copyright Nintendo. Alright, so Super Cup battles will be tomorrow, guys and gals. That's going to be interesting. And dominate cup battles. Try a whole new challenge. Will you survive? Probably not. Let's actually...
Well, this is the last episode? Oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there's going to be 10 live streams in total, probably. Maybe even only 9. I mean, I could get destroyed in Super Cup battles tomorrow. I don't know. We'll find out. It says it's going to be super challenging, so I guess we're going to find out. So anyway, guys, Legend of Zelda's next. Make sure you guys click over. Again, if there's only like 20, 30 people, the start time for the next stream will be an hour. Because an hour with only 30 people is 300 views. So if there's like 60 people, then that's like 500 views after 30 minutes. So the quicker we get views clicking on the next stream, the faster I can start. So just bear in mind, because I don't want to have the music run for an hour. I don't like that either, because then I have to find things to do for an hour. You know, although there's a bunch of new anime I could watch while I wait, but I have chores to do and I have some other stuff. So, but the faster we get people in on the next stream to migrate over, the quicker the next stream will start. That's how it works. The slower that people are in there, the longer it's going to take. Could take an hour, could take an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 15. It all depends on how many people are waiting. So, that's how we roll. All right, guys. It's because we're shadow banned. So yeah. Head on over to the next stream. Legend of Zelda Champion. What does it say? Hyrule facing what?
I was thinking people could leave a comment on this stream. If you guys want to leave a comment after the stream, you guys could let us know your favorite, like, 80s or 90s franchise done right. And how they continue to keep a franchise you really like going. Like Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or something like that that you thought they did really well at. Or Kim Possible, something like that.
Well, Amber set up the streams. We're not fighting Ganon. We already fought Ganon. She just reused the same title from yesterday.
Oops.
It's the Champions Ballad DLC.
Sorry.
It's okay. Alright, people. I will see you on Legend of Zelda. So head on over. God bless, happy gaming. Thanks so much for watching. More soccer tomorrow. Zelda's next.
See ya!